Hello, I'm probably riding my bike. Today was the day that winter truly arrived, like it does suddenly in Korea. Not really a slow transition, it's just one day, boom, it's minus 10 degrees in the morning. On the first freezing cold ride, commute to work, I usually end up wearing too many clothes. This full down parka and cashmere balaclava was a bit overkill for this morning. Luckily the balaclava folds into a hat. But I was a bit too sweaty once I arrived to work, which kind of is counterintuitive when you're riding in the cold. At the beginning of winter, I'm kind of excited to ride in the cold, but as winter moves on, sometimes it's harder to find the motivation. I think it's easy enough to prepare your bike and clothes for riding in the winter, but preparing yourself mentally is maybe a bit harder. I'm talking about the perspective of riding in winter in Seoul, which I know is different to other places. A lot drier. And when it does snow, it tends to melt pretty quickly. But having your bike set up for winter and your clothes warm enough is a big step to being mentally prepared. I actually went the longest time without riding my bike recently. A whole 2 weeks. I was kind of sick for a few days. And then when I tried to ride again, I thought I'd lost all motivation for riding my bike. An existential crisis for someone who's made their whole personality riding bikes. Luckily though, I hadn't really fallen out of love with bikes. I was just still a bit sick. Just a few days later, I went for a bike ride and it was just pure joy again, like it always was. Sometimes you just need to take a break even from the things you love doing. I'll talk more a bit about mentally preparing for riding in winter. But first I'll talk a little bit about the camera I'm using and the sponsor of this video, Insta360. The Insta360 X5 is still very new to me, so I've been having fun just playing around with it. And I've been using it for most of my rides. One of the cooler things about it is that you can just shoot the whole 360 image and frame it later. You can focus more on the ride and not really worry about the shots you're taking, and then you can choose the parts that you like later on. You can use gesture control as well with using your hands or voice control to start recording. I've mostly been using it on the handlebar mount with the invisible selfie stick, which kind of creates a floating third person perspective, almost drone-like, some might say. I'm quite impressed with the flow stabilization as well. Seoul's roads are pretty smooth, but this handles any bumps pretty well. Your footage is never shaky, and it's always level with the horizon leveling. I'm looking forward to trying out some of the other mounts, like maybe the chest mount and handlebar mount, as well as on the seat post. Walking around with the selfie stick took a bit of getting used to for someone as self-conscious as me. But I think it really takes in quite an immersive experience when you're in a cool place like this. This is the Amore Pacific building in Yongsan, next to Yongsan Station. Amore Pacific is a huge Korean cosmetics company. But down in the basement there's some delicious coffee. And let's have some fun trying out the camera off the bike as well. If you're impressed by the camera, you can check out the link in my bio and use the code Probably Riding. This is Conflict Store Cafe. I'm not really sure about the name, but it's a nice space, and the first time I ever came they were playing D'Angelo Voodoo, so it must be good. I think they roast their own, like most good cafes do here. Nicely decorated space, and I ordered myself a flat white. I wasn't quite sure about this cup. I think it's good for making your latte art, but the drinking experience out of it was not as nice as just a regular small mug. I just set the camera on the table and kind of forgot it was there. After a little while, here's me posing, drinking my first sip of delicious, glorious flat white. I think if you had a YouTube channel where the main focus was you talking to people and your interactions with others, this would be a really useful camera because it takes the whole 360 image. For now, I'll just use it to record me and the stuff I see in my rides. Now it's time to head outside because I'm meeting someone to sell them one of my probably riding single origin caps. At the time of voiceover, there's still a few left. But this lovely person was buying one for her boyfriend in the UK. So if you're watching, I hope you're enjoying your new cap. Finding the motivation to ride in the first snowfall is quite easy. Here, because the winter is generally very dry, when it first snows it's not slippery at all. Just some nice crisp powder to ride over. And the early mornings in the snow riding over the river is just beautiful. I wasn't the only one crazy enough to be out and about. I'm sure they were just as happy on their run as I was riding my bike. The first snow, as I said, isn't slippery. It's when the snow melts and freezes again is when it gets a bit hazardous. But here it often melts the same day or not, if not the next. There's no need to set up my Clem like my fellow Clem owner and YouTuber Bikes, Books and Buildings. He's got his Clem set up for Oslo winter with the studded tyres. I've never actually tried a bike with studded tyres, but I'm sure if you live somewhere super icy, then it's definitely worthy to do and necessary. That all goes with the mental preparation being intertwined with physical preparation for riding your bike. If you got your bike set up properly, you're going to want to ride it. But when you're in your cosy house and you imagine riding with the sunrise in the beautiful covered snow city, that's enough motivation for me. I'd still rather be out on my bike than in one of those cars on the motorway. And I've got the paths all to myself, although they haven't been cleared yet. Seoul's pretty amazing for getting things ready in the winter, even the bike lanes, but I guess I came a bit earlier than the wonderful people who clear the bike lanes. Amazingly, they're out at 7 in the morning, getting the paths ready for people like me. On this snowy morning, I thought I'd try out a few more different angles of mounting the Insta360 X5 camera. This time I mounted it on the rear triangle of the Clem to get some behind the scenes footage of me riding my bike. You can see the camera kind of wobbling around on the long selfie stick, but the footage was still pretty clean thanks to the flow state stabilization. I thought I was running late, but I managed to get to work on time, and actually I got there before most of my colleagues, who were slowed down by the traffic. I was just slowed down by playing with my new camera. And riding past a few more wonderful people clearing the bike lanes. I made it to work in time, with time to spare, to admire Clem covered in snow. And by the end of my work day, the weather was completely glorious, and most of the snow had melted. For me, with the weather in Seoul, I know if I don't want to get up in the morning and ride in the cold, I just try and think about how glorious the ride home could be. On the days I don't ride my bike, I'm kind of sad it's not there waiting for me outside after work. So I try to think about that feeling when I'm contemplating whether to ride in the morning. Thanks to Insta360 for sending me this camera and sponsoring this video. Remember to check the link in the bio and use the code PROBABLYRIDING if you're interested in buying this, or there are other cameras too. I'm having loads of fun using it and trying it mounting in different places. My next few videos I'll be using the Go Ultra a lot more, with a bit of use of the X5 interspersed with it. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. See you later.
But you won't stay long. Got the stars in your hair, caught up in a dream last night.